love handles, a soft round belly, a pot belly. Today, we're going to talk about menopause, andropause, and belly fat. Hi, I'm Dr. Neelima Deshpande, and this is V for Vagina, the podcast that dispels myths and misunderstandings about the vagina and empowers women to embrace their sexual energy, vitality, and well-being. I was at the traffic lights one day, and I saw this well-built, well-nourished policeman waving his arms about as he directed the traffic. And as I looked at him, a thought popped into my mind. As it does, being a gynecologist and sex therapist. This policeman had tied his belt below his pot belly. Now, if you're somebody who lives in developing countries, you know that many policemen have pot bellies. There's certainly very few of them who maintain their fitness as they come out of training school. It's not their fault. They're going through a process called andropause. The same thing often happens to women too. Except women are not very good at tying their belts below their bellies. Unless it's a big hangover. The concern about belly fat is really genuine. When your waist circumference exceeds your hip circumference, very likely you have a higher level of visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat that's inside your tummy rather than under your skin. It's the fat that surrounds all of your important organs like your liver, your pancreas, your spleen, and probably even your heart. Visceral fat is often associated with increased risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and even dementia. Oh, and I forgot, even sexual dysfunction. So if you're a guy who's got a big pot belly, or a beer belly as they call it, you're more likely to suffer with erectile dysfunction. Loss of desire, low libido. You're well on your way to becoming a grumpy old man. If you're a woman, you're well on your way to becoming a grumpy old woman. So what is this about menopause and andropause? In women particularly, it's about decreasing estrogen levels, but also progressively decreasing testosterone levels, which we've talked about before. In women, testosterone levels are barely 10% of what testosterone levels are there in men. In men, the decline is slower. In men, particularly if they're alcohol drinkers, smokers, sedentary lifestyle, eating out a lot, high consumption of processed foods and trans fats, they might even have a declining testosterone in their late 30s and early 40s. It's that pot belly that gives them away. Andropause is a controversial term. Many men will say, is there such a thing? Of course, men don't have drastic reductions in testosterone the way that women do when the ovaries stop working. But their testosterone levels do decline gradually over time. And as we talked before, testosterone doesn't just have important effects on muscle health, muscle well-being, bone health, metabolism. It's a key player in your feelings of well-being, your mental feelings of well-being, the sexy thoughts you think, your ability to seek out sexual behavior, your desire to feel sexy for your partner. All of this comes from testosterone. So why do we hold on to belly fat? And why is it so difficult to get rid of? I remember when I was going through menopause, I tried everything to get rid of this belly fat. And I'm pretty sure there are many women just like me. Maybe on a day when I'd gone out and had a party with my friends, I'd spend a day fasting. I'm not going to eat anymore. I'd be punishing myself for having indulged a little bit. Sometimes I'd find this amazing detox diet, removing stuff. Get rid of all the nuts. Get rid of dairy. Get rid of sugar. Get rid of processed food. Get rid of tea, coffee. Just remove stuff. I do loads of chin-ups and push-ups and crunches and, running on the spot, lifting my legs up. I try to burn more calories in the gym. Cycling, high intensity, interval training, joining workouts on the grounds, in the parks, made no difference to that belly fat. And as I started to study human evolution, I realized the fat is not our enemy. And particularly in women, fat is our evolutionary advantage. It kept us alive during lean times and starvation. But in menopause particularly, belly fat serves another purpose. You know, fat is an endocrine organ, both in men and women. But in women particularly, that fat around the tummy produces estrogen, especially at menopause, which is why a lot of menopausal women lose their waists. Unfortunately, belly fat has other roles to play. It increases leptin resistance. It's also the result of high stress, cortisol levels caused either by a stressful lifestyle around menopause or stress due to menopause or stress because of stress, which all of us are familiar with. The second thing is that fat makes you fatter. The very different kinds of hormones that fat produces makes you fatter, makes you hungrier as well. When you have more belly fat, you also have fat within the muscle cells, which creates an aggravated state of insulin resistance, which you might have heard of. And this then complicates things like diabetes, high blood pressure. So it's a vicious cycle. One just feeds into the other. No wonder it's hard to get rid of. And guess what happens if you're stressed out? Because of stress or because of menopause, because of symptoms of menopause, mental symptoms, physical symptoms, pain, lack of sleep, psychological problems, strained relationships, financial problems. The stress stresses you out. What does all this excess cortisol do? It puts fat on your belly and takes away your muscles, which is why a lot of women and men in the age group of 40 to 60, if they're not working on themselves, if they're not looking after their health, start looking like lollipops. A big fat belly, big fat jowls, sagging under the eyes, a thick neck, and skinny arms and legs with very little muscle. More than likely, these sleep issues are also associated with another condition called sleep apnea, snoring, which also increases the risk of heart disease and diabetes. So if we're doing everything, we're eating properly, we're exercising, doing high intensity, doing more cardio, why are we sabotaging this weight loss, this belly fat loss? One of the ways we sabotage is by fasting. Fasting when we're not nourished. Fasting when the cells of our body are starving. If you're not eating well enough or eating enough, the body just perceives this as starvation, which means belly fat is here to stay. It's your savior. Why will your body get rid of it? The second reason is not sleeping properly or not following the circadian rhythm, the day and night rhythm that your body has survived for millions of years. It's encoded in your DNA. If you don't sleep, you don't produce the key hormones in your brain that allow your body to repair and reset its metabolism. And there's an inverse relationship between the hormones that are released during sleep and insulin. And the greater the insulin resistance, the less likely the belly fat is to go away. Just sleeping on time and sleeping enough and resting will make a big difference to belly fat. And the third way we sabotage ourselves is by over-exercising and cardio. I want you to imagine a scene. You're accompanying the hunter-gatherers a few 100,000 years ago. There's a tribe. Everyone's sitting around, enjoying themselves, chit-chatting. Suddenly, the men get up and start to run. They gather their spears and their bows and arrows and they're running. They're running. And they got excited calls, almost like battle cries. What do you conclude? Yes, they're on a hunt. They've discovered something and they're chasing it and they're excited because there's food. Amazing protein. That's what they found. And it's going to be an amazing hunt. But that's why they've got all this energy in their legs and they're running and they're chasing. Yes. And then, after a while, you see the women running. They gather up the kids, gather up the bundles of clothing, whatever little belongings they have, and they start to run. And they're screaming as they run. What do you conclude? More than likely, you're concluding that they're running away from something, either a wild animal or another group of humans that's out to get them. Women and children running does not fill you with excitement. It fills you with a sense of fear and dread. Women and children. used to be prey. Men with arms were predators. So if you're over-exercising, doing a lot of cardio, and you're a woman, your body responds very differently to a man doing exactly the same exercises at the same time. I'm not saying cardio isn't good for you. Yes, it is. But it needs to be timed right. And it needs to be done in a way that allows you to feel excited and thrilled and energized rather than stressed out. So for example, if you're going on a 5-kilometer run with your girlfriends, and you're going to have a picnic at the end, and you're carrying your food, and you're laughing and giggling and singing on the way, then it's great cardio. But if you've decided that you're going to run this marathon at the end of the month, and you're setting out on your training, and you're struggling, put your trainers on, and you're saying, oh my God, I got to do this training, then you're not. You're another version of that prey. And what do these 3 sabotages do to your body? You're not just holding on to belly fat, because that's your survival mechanism. Your belly fat is the thing that's going to keep you alive. You're also losing muscle because your body is using it up for all the stuff it needs to do. You'll also lose fat from your face and from your breasts. That affects how you look. It also affects how you feel. Remember the testosterone I told you about? It affects your mental health too. And that's true of men as well. When men find that they adjust their nutrition, their well-being, their stress levels, so that they start to lose this belly fat, this pot belly that they have, cut out their alcohol, reduce smoking, start to become active, their mental health improves, their gut health improves. And as their testosterone levels gradually return to what they're supposed to be, their libido returns, desire returns. And remember what we've talked about before. Your ability to burn fat as a source of energy compared to sugar also determines your ability to switch very quickly from being in a relaxed state to an energized state. And for men, that's particularly important because being able to get up and wield arms and go on a hunt at the snap of a finger is really important. Because who knows whether you'll get that chance again to go on a hunt. So metabolic flexibility is very, very highly connected to autonomic flexibility. And when you have autonomic flexibility, it means the blood vessels in your body are quick to respond. They relax and tighten on command. And guess what you need for great sexual health? You need blood vessels that respond. When you have great sexy thoughts, you want the blood to flood into the penis and get a great erection. Same thing for women. You want great vascular health so that you can get aroused, experience orgasms, experience great pelvic floor contractions and relaxations, experience a smooth and slick and slippery vagina. How do we get around these saboteurs? Well, some of it is just getting back to basics. Making sure you've got your breathing right, deep, relaxed breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. Your body is hydrated with the right kind of foods, fruits, and water. You've restored your circadian rhythm, you're sleeping on time, you're staying away from all the blue light, LEDs, agitated thoughts. You've got a good sleep routine and a wake routine in place. You're not abusing alcohol or caffeine or smoking. You've got most of the toxic P's removed from your environment and from your diet. Remember the pesticides and pollutants and personal care products, plastics, preservatives. You're doing strength training and you're timing it with your testosterone peaks. And when does testosterone peak? It's usually late morning and late afternoon, after the cortisol has come up and decreased. That's the best time to build muscle. And strength training means muscle building exercises where your muscles are challenged. There's so many different regimes for muscle building. When you meet your personal trainer, either at the gym or if you've got someone coming home, tell them what your goals are. You want to build muscle. Your body muscle mass determines your longevity, your metabolic flexibility, your cardiovascular flexibility, pretty much everything needed to die a good death. But you don't know it yet. For now, having great muscle training and strength actually also improves your coordination and balance. And if you're eating right, getting all the best nutrients before you start removing stuff or fasting, when you focus on cellular nutrition, then your flexibility improves as well. and your stamina and vitality. So when you stop stressing about your belly fat and your belly, and you start doing more of what allows your body to relax into what it was meant to be, this amazing, smart, magical engine that takes you places, you can actually fall in love with your fat and watch it melt away. If this topic has intrigued you and you want to understand a little bit more about menopause and pick up some quick tips, I invite you to click on the link and order my book, Menopause Made Easy, 121 Tips to Guide and Inspire. You'll also find that there's a course I do on menopause and mastering it. There's a journal I've created as well to go along with the course and the book. You can find all the links in the description box that accompanies this episode. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with whoever you think needs to hear it. If you'd like to talk to me one-on-one for a personal consultation, get in touch with me via my website, www.dr.neelima, Neelima, Deshpande, Deshpande.com. And you'll find a button there where you can click and book a slot with me. And I'll be sure to respond to any of your queries. Thank you. Disclaimer. This podcast is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's or listener's own risk. The content on this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.